Whether you're into comedians roasting each other's life choices or turning yesterday's bad decisions into today's funny stories, Amazon Music's got the most ad-free top podcasts, included with Prime. Download the Amazon Music app and get in on the joke. Or go to amazon.com/ad-free-comedy. That's amazon.com/ad-free-comedy to catch up on the latest episodes without the ads.
Bubba Wallace here from 2311 Racing. Funny thing about being fast, you end up waiting a lot. First to show up, first in line, then just waiting. Me, I rev up Chumba Casino. With over 200 social casino games, no slow lanes here. Why sit around when you can spin? I'm already racing. Your turn. Play for free at ChumbaCasino.com. Let's Chumba.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
You're listening to Missing Persons, brought to you by AbJack Entertainment. Be sure to check out some of the other great true crime podcasts from this network, including The Murder in My Family, DNA ID, Zodiac Speaking, Scene of the Crime,
Beyond Bizarre True Crime, Campus Killings,
and
Killer Communications.
All of these podcasts are available for you to binge on right now, wherever you listen to podcasts. Subscribe where you're listening to this podcast so you don't miss an episode.
The views and opinions expressed by guests on this podcast do not necessarily represent those of the podcast, its creators, or sponsors. This episode may contain unsettling or disturbing subject matter. Listener discretion is advised.
If you'd like to support Missing Persons and get VIP access to things like ad-free listening, early preview episodes, and bonus content of not only this show, but for every other podcast on the AbJack network of indie podcast, consider subscribing to the show with an AbJack Insider subscription through Apple Podcast. For only $4.99 a month or $49.99 a year, you'll unlock a variety of listener benefits, and you'll be supporting the show in the process. Your support is greatly appreciated.
Welcome to Missing Persons, a podcast dedicated to spreading the word about people who have vanished under mysterious or unexplained circumstances and the family members who are looking for answers. I'm Jess Betancourt.
And I'm Mike Morford. Together, we created this podcast to help give a voice to people who continue to search for their missing loved ones. In some cases, even after decades have gone by. In each episode, you'll hear from Jess giving listeners the backstory and the basic facts of the disappearance.
Then Mike will speak with someone who's intimately connected to the missing person, and his guest will share their story with us. So sit back and enjoy this episode, and who knows, maybe you can help us find someone who's missing. Missing Persons returns today with a missing child case that has not gotten a lot of attention from the mainstream media. Deanna Michelle Merryfield was just 13 years old when she was last seen in Killeen, Texas, where she was living in 1990. Deanna and her fraternal twin sister Rebecca were born on February 2, 1977, the middle daughters born to mother Laurel Merryfield and a father who's not listed on the Texas birth records I looked at. Their older sister was Amy, and their younger sister was Melissa, who is our guest today. The family lived in Killeen, and Deanna grew up riding her bike, playing outside with her sisters, and doing exceptionally well in school. Things changed in the mid-1980s. In December 1986, Laurel, the mother, married a man named Roy Kay. By 1989, Laurel was hospitalized for alcoholism, and when the girls were dispersed to relatives, Deanna and Rebecca, her twin, reported to their grandmother that Roy was sexually abusive to them. Charges were filed, and according to Click 2 Houston, quote, in October 1989, Roy was convicted of indecency with a child and sentenced to 10 years probation with mandatory annual registration as a sex offender. The family was broken up, with all 4 girls being sent to different relatives. In July 1990, the 13-year-old twins were living separately, with Deanna at her grandma's house and Rebecca at an uncle's a few miles away. It was summertime, and Deanna had finished up 7th grade at Manor Middle School and was planning on enrolling in 8th grade in Fairway School come September. On the night of July 21st, Deanna and her grandmother stayed up until about 1 a.m. watching movies. Then her grandmother went to bed. Deanna had been known to sneak out of the house on past occasions, and she did so on this night as well. She showed up at the home of her uncle in the Oak Springs Trailer Park on Dimple Street, about 2.5 miles from where her grandmother's house was. This was at 3:30 in the morning. She got her sister's attention through the window, and they chatted for a few minutes, but then the uncle woke up because of the noise and told Deanna she needed to go home. Rebecca saw her sister get into a rust-colored 4-door vehicle with 2 male teens inside. They were either white or Hispanic, but she didn't know who they were. She has said that Deanna might have told her they were a guy named Tony Longoria and his younger brother Rudy, but the male teens have never been formally identified. No one knows what happened to Deanna after that. Her grandmother called the Killeen police the next day when she discovered that Deanna was missing, and a police report filed that day, July 22nd, categorized Deanna as a runaway. There was no investigation into her disappearance at the time, even though all of her personal items were found in her room, including her purse, and Deanna had never left before or talked of leaving. According to the Charlie Project, in 1992, Rebecca got a collect phone call from a caller who said her name was Deanna. When Rebecca agreed to accept the charges, the caller hung up. The call was traced to Horse Cave, Kentucky, but the caller has never been identified. The family does have extended family in the area, but they had not seen Deanna when they were questioned. The family reports that in 1993, a woman called the Killeen PD and reported that Deanna had returned home and was safe. This was untrue, and although the caller was not identified and Deanna had never returned, the police closed the case. Then, in October 1995, Deanna's name came up again. The Killeen police are not sure why the name Deanna Merryfield was run through a police computer search system in Hurst, Texas, but they were notified that it had been. It is thought that this might have been in connection with a traffic stop, but there are no relevant records, so no one knows for sure. And a quick search informed me that several other women named Deanna Merryfield lived in Texas at the time, and this computer search could have related to any one of them. Anyway, according to the Killeen Daily Herald, after they were informed of this development in late 1995, Deanna's grandmother asked police to take another look at the case, telling them that the information police had that Deanna had returned home was unfounded. But the police felt that available information was too limited, and the case was put on inactive status. More from the Killeen Daily Herald, quote, between 2000 and 2002, an out-of-state relative reported that Deanna, sporting several tattoos, visited and told the relative that she wanted to remain hidden. End quote. The tattoos were apparently a cross, the word Merryfield with a date, and a rose with the words Texas born. But this possible sighting was not reported to police, is unconfirmed, and the relative later denied the statement altogether. Deanna's case was reopened in 2007 after her younger sister Melissa pushed the Killeen police to investigate. By 2012, Killeen Police Detective Kevin Loudensack and Lieutenant Reese Davis had, quote, searched records of Jane Doe's Texas driver's license photos and DNA filings, according to the Daily Herald. Deanna's twin sister's DNA was uploaded to CODIS in case remains or someone who might be Deanna were found. Deanna is listed in NamUs as MP 5170. Melissa also started a Facebook page to raise awareness of her sister's case and maintains the website findingdeanna.com. KCENT reported that in this time frame, Rebecca submitted to hypnosis by an expert at the Texas Rangers in hopes that the session would help her remember more details about her conversation with her sister through the window, or the males she left town with. Melissa told the news station, quote, I do remember her calling me after the hypnosis, and she was very, very upset. But she said she did remember stuff from that night, end quote. However, the hypnosis generated no new leads, and Deanna's case has basically gone dormant. The predominant theories about Deanna's disappearance focus on her running away or her being a victim, perhaps of the 2 men her sister saw her with. Her family remains hopeful that she's alive, but questions why she would not have contacted her sisters with whom she was close. In May of this year, Melissa spoke at a town hall meeting held by the Killeen PD and told attendees about her sister's case. She pointed out that the police department had no cold case unit. Her sister, still missing after 35 years, could not receive the full attention her disappearance needs because busy detectives could work her case only in their spare time. This leaves the family with few options and hope running out. Mike Morford sat down to talk with Melissa Twardowski, Deanna's sister, for Missing Persons. That conversation is coming up after a word from our sponsors.
Whether you're into just mascara and gloss or love playing with bold colors, we all have that one makeup essential. Mine? Thrive Cosmetics Liquid Lash Extensions Mascara. It gives the look of lash extensions without the glue or damage. The flake-free tubing formula defines from root to tip, no clumps or flakes, and comes off with warm water. It's vegan, cruelty-free, and gives back with every purchase. Beauty that works and makes a difference. Try your new trusty favorites with an exclusive set for our listeners. New customers can get the Liquid Lash Extensions Mascara and the mini-sized Brilliant Eye Brightener at a special set price with free shipping available at thrivecosmetics.com/beauty. Or save more with 20% off your first order at thrivecosmetics.com/beauty. That's Thrive Cosmetics, CAUSEMETICS.com/beauty for 20% off your first order.
So, when I ask, what is Odoo? What comes to mind? Well, Odoo is a bit of everything. Odoo is a suite of business management software that some people say is like fertilizer because of the way it promotes growth. But some people also say Odoo is like a magic beanstalk because it grows with your company and is also magically affordable. But then again, you could look at Odoo in terms of how its individual software programs are a lot like building blocks. I mean, whatever your business needs, manufacturing, accounting, HR programs, you can build a custom software suite that's perfect for your company. So what is Odoo? Well, I guess Odoo is a bit of everything. Odoo is a fertilizer, magic beanstalk building blocks for business. Yeah, that's it. Which means that Odoo is exactly what every business needs. Learn more and sign up now at odoo.com. That's ODOO.com.
Bubba Wallace here from 2311 Racing. Funny thing about being fast, you end up waiting a lot. First to show up, first in line, then just waiting. Me, I rev up Chumba Casino. With over 200 social casino games, no slow lanes here. Why sit around when you can spin? I'm already racing. Your turn. Play for free at ChumbaCasino.com. Let's Chumba.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Hi, Melissa, and thank you for coming on Missing Persons to discuss your sister Deanna's case with us.
Hi, Mike. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, I'm happy to have you here. We're going to get into your sister's case. She's been missing 35 years now. And, there's clues that we have, maybe some we don't have, and we're going to get into all that. But before we do, can you tell us a little bit about your sister, Deanna, and what she was like?
So growing up, Deanna was very girly, very smart, very outgoing, and very nurturing to me and very protective of me.
Were the two of you close?
I think all four of us were pretty close. Just growing up, how we did. And, a lot of times it was instant playmates. So, yeah.
And you mentioned there were four of you. I'm imagining a household with four girls in it.
Yeah.
Was that kind of chaotic? Did you always get along with each other?
It was definitely chaotic. And no, we did not always get along with each other. And some of us got along better with each other more than, we got along better with others.
Okay. Now, one of the things that has been reported is that you obviously in a big family like they're going to have different things going on, but
Mm-hmm.
there was one thing that was reported that your mom had suffered some alcoholism, and
Yes.
there was also some abuse that was reported against your stepfather, Roy. Um, how did that stuff affect the family dynamic, I guess?
Okay, yeah. So our mother, I mean, my earlier memories of her, I think she was pretty sober or at least a functioning alcoholic. And I think when she first got with our stepfather, Roy, um, she was, the same. And, but then things quickly escalated as far as her drinking and illness. So she married Roy in 1986, and then in 1989 was the first time she was hospitalized for cirrhosis of the liver. And when she was sober or at least functioning, she was great. She was a great mom, baking cookies with us and having our friends over for popcorn parties. And then things just kind of stopped. And so in 1989, when she was in the hospital, is when Deanna first reported the abuse by our stepfather.
Was that physical or sexual or both?
It was sexual abuse, yes.
And was it just Deanna, or was it one of your other sisters as well?
So originally, when the CPS investigation started, um, all three of my sisters said there was abuse. One of them recanted, and the other one, they said there wasn't enough evidence. So I think she probably just stopped talking out of fear. And then Deanna is the only one whose case moved forward, and she kept, talking about it.
How did that affect her personally? And did you see any changes in her?
So, me being the younger sister, the only changes I really remember are, she started being more rebellious, and she was, listening to darker music, like, hard rock hair band type of music, but it was kind of a change compared to Janet Jackson and Madonna. And I've spoken to her friends, and they say there was definitely a change there. She became more introvert and wasn't really as just more quiet and things. And I have her report cards from when she was in elementary school, and she was a gifted child, and she was in the gifted program. But in fifth grade, that second semester of fifth grade, her teachers started saying, Deanna's not applying herself. Can you please talk to Deanna? She doesn't seem to be trying, and things like that.
So you could see some kind of marked difference there at that time.
Yes, yes, I think so.
And was your stepfather sentenced to any prison time for this?
No prison time. He received 10 years probation and has to register as a sex offender.
Okay. So you've got all this stuff going on, which is obviously going to be hard on a family. This,
Mhm.
the sex abuse, your mom's issues, her illness, and that sort of it seems like from everything I've read, it sort of splintered your family up, and
Yeah.
you went to live with different relatives. Can you sort of break down who went where and how quickly that happened?
Right. So there was a lot of shuffling. When CPS began their investigation, they came to the house. It was shortly after our mom got out of the hospital in 1989. And they came to the house and said, while we're investigating, Roy can't have contact with the girls. So, either he needs to leave or the girls need to leave. So our mom kind of dispersed us throughout family members, just who could take who. So originally I went to stay with one of my aunts, and Becky, who is Deanna's twin sister, and Deanna went to stay with our uncle, and our oldest sister went to stay with our grandma. Once the investigation was over and Roy was convicted, I moved back home, and Becky and Deanna stayed with our uncle until the summer of 1990, when our older sister went to go visit an aunt for the summer in Virginia. Deanna moved in with our grandma.
Okay. And how was that sort of adjustment, being all, in different spots like that after being all together? Was that tough for all of you?
Yeah, it was really hard. We would try to see each other as much as possible, but I don't remember there being a lot of like adults, adults helping us to see each other a whole lot. So like when Deanna was living with our uncle, she would walk to our mom's house and come and get me, but she wouldn't stay at the house, but she would come and get me, and we'd walk back over to our uncle's to hang out and things like that. So it was really hard just being dispersed like that, and kind of, I don't think any of us really felt like we had a home at that time.
Yeah, I can imagine that would be a sort of a shock to the system after being together all that time.
Mm-hmm.
All right, quick break. Knock, knock. Who's there? Amazon Music. Amazon Music who? Amazon Music, where Prime members can listen to top comedy podcasts ad-free. No awkward interruptions, just nonstop laughs from your favorite shows. It's free, it's funny, and hey, it's better than my knock-knock jokes. Download the Amazon Music app and let the good times roll. Or go to amazon.com/ad-free comedy. That's amazon.com/ad-free comedy to catch up on the latest episodes without the ads.
Bubba Wallace here from 2311 Racing. Funny thing about being fast, you end up waiting a lot. First to show up, first in line, then just waiting. Me, I rev up Chumba Casino. With over 200 social casino games, no slow lanes here. Why sit around when you can spin? I'm already racing. Your turn. Play for free at ChumbaCasino.com. Let's Chumba.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
It's Wednesday night after a long day, and the last thing you want to do is cook dinner from scratch. But you still want a satisfying, tasty meal without the guilt? Enter your freezer's sidekick, Cauliflower. From thin and crispy cauliflower crust pizzas to all-natural white meat chicken tenders and crowd-pleasing snacks, Cauliflower satisfies every craving. Cauliflower's products are your favorite comfort foods, but made better for you and gluten-free always. The best part? You don't have to sacrifice taste or time, so you can honor your cravings without compromising. Craving pizza? You can enjoy Cauliflower's delicious margarita pizza for only 370 calories for half the pizza. Looking for easy snacks that kids and adults alike will love? Cauliflower's baked, never fried pizza snacks are nostalgia reimagined and ready in 5 minutes. Cauliflower's products are available in freezer aisles nationwide. Visit eatcauliflower.com/where-to-buy to find a store near you.
So let's jump to when Deanna went missing. This is July 21st, 1990. It was reported that she was at your grandma's house watching movies, normal night, and then after your grandma went to bed, she snuck out and headed to a nearby trailer park in Killeen. And this is where your sister Becky was living with your uncle. Now, Becky later confirmed that she got there at around 3:30 in the morning, but I think it's maybe how she got there that's kind of troubling. According to Becky, she had been driven there by two men described as either Caucasian or Hispanic driving a brown or bronze four-door car. I'm curious, what was the conversation when they got there? Do you know what that was between your sisters?
So, Becky has said she doesn't remember what the conversation was. She's not very talkative about the situation, and again, nobody really asked her about that night until 2007. She has said that it was just a really quick conversation. She doesn't remember exactly what was said.
And just to clarify, so was that the first time she ever mentioned these two men in that car?
Yes, and that was the first time anyone asked her, as far as I know.
Wow. Okay. And, you would think that after she went missing, the police would have talked to her before that, talked to all of you just to see who might have known something about where she might have gone.
Yeah, yeah, you would think so.
Huh. Okay. So, again, according to Becky, and this is now years later, she's giving this information. Your
Mhm,
uncle woke up, caught them talking, and basically told Deanna she needed to go home. And at
mhm.
that point, according to Becky, she left. And that's the last time she was ever seen. When did your family actually realize that something was wrong? She's missing.
So I think our grandmother realized almost immediately. She woke up the morning of the 22nd, and Deanna was still sleeping as far as she knew. So she waited until about 11 in the morning to go and wake Deanna up. And when she went into Deanna's room, she wasn't there. And our grandmother, basically called our mom to see if she had heard from her. And then, since our mom hadn't, our grandmother went to the police station to report her missing.
Had Deanna ever snuck out before? I mean, I'm trying to think at that age, a lot of teenagers will sneak out. It's not
Mhm.
uncommon. Was that something she had done before that any of you knew about?
So she had snuck out before, like, at night, um, but her sneaking out was usually, going out the window to talk to friends in the yard. Or, maybe she would go down the street to a friend's house, but she would come right back. Things like that. It wasn't Deanna had never run away before.
So when your grandmother actually does report her missing,
Mhm.
what was the initial response from the police? Did they take it serious, or a lot of times they'll say, "Oh, she's just out hanging out with friends. She'll come home." What was the approach from police early on?
Right. So she was treated as a runaway, and there was no investigation at all at that time.
Wow, that's I always get frustrated when I hear that, but it's so common, especially back in the 80s and early 90s. That was just
Mhm.
a common response. That they think that the person must be out hanging out with their friends, partying, and as soon as they're done, they're going to come home. But then you lose all that valuable time early on, um,
Right.
because questioning friends and family members and things like that might provide some answers. Was there a point as maybe time went on that police went in a different direction and said maybe she's not a runaway?
So, not anytime soon after that. She was reported, missing on July 22nd of 1990. And then in 1993, the Killeen Police Department received a phone call saying that Deanna was back home. So they closed her case, and that was basically it until 1995 when our grandmother went to go inquire about Deanna's case. And they told her, oh, we thought she was at home. And our grandmother said no. So they reopened the case, but immediately closed it due to a lack of information. And then in 2007 is when I had the case reopened.
And that's the point where they went talking to all of you, I assume, and friends and things like that, and that's where Becky provided that information about the guys in the car?
So you would think so. They talked to our grandmother, they talked to Becky, they talked to me, and I think the aunt that was in Virginia came in one time to talk to them with our grandmother, and they talked to our stepfather, and As far as I know, well, they did talk to one of Deanna's friends, but they didn't, uh, they tried to investigate, I suppose, but I don't feel like they talked to people. They didn't talk to everyone they should have.
And especially now we're talking, almost 20 years later,
Mhm.
that's people forget stuff. Maybe some people have information move or pass away and they're harder to, that it's hard to put a time frame together what happened. So it does seem like there was some real missed time here. I'm just curious, again, going back to the runaway thing for a second. Had Deanna ever talked about running away or ever run away in the past?
So she had, you know, they the family said she ran away, but what she had done was gone to our grandmother's house to report the sexual abuse. So I don't consider that running away. She went straight to a safe relative. Other than that, no, she had never run away. She had never talked to me about running away. I'm not sure she would have because I was younger, but yeah, as far as I know, she never talked about running away.
Okay. And just to be clear for listeners too, there was no evidence that she had packed anything, taken any belongings or anything like that when she disappeared, right?
Right. She didn't take anything with her, which I think is kind of important because when you're being moved from house to house, you have so few belongings anyways that the belongings that you do have, I think, become more important. And she took none of that with her.
Yeah. And you'd think that a teenager is going to take whatever belongings they have instead of just leave with the clothes on their back.
Right. Right.
And I just want to ask too, regarding that call that came in that sort of shut the case down.
Hmm.
Was it determined who made that call and how it got reported that she was back home safe?
So the only information I have been able to find out is that it was a female voice.
Hmm. And that sort of leads me to another question because I know in 1992, reportedly, your sister Becky got a collect call from someone claiming to be Deanna. And then by the time she accepted the call and started talking, the caller hung up. Can you talk a little bit more about that call and what, if anything, was known about who called or what happened?
Mhm. Yeah. So it was, I've heard 1992, but I've also been told 1993. Um, Becky and our older sister were living in an apartment and they received a collect call. And when the person identified as Deanna, they accepted the call and the person immediately hung up. So, and Becky said that when they received the phone bill, the collect call was placed in Horse Cave, Kentucky. Um, I don't really have any other information about that. And, I don't think the phone bill still exists or anything like that.
Now, did your family have any connections to that area?
So our grandmother had relatives there. Um, and, when I was growing up after Deanna left or went missing, um, my mom and our stepfather told me, basically Deanna ran away or our grandmother had sent her off to live with relatives. That was like, the story I was told. I was also told there was no sexual abuse and our grandmother was just making trouble. So later on, learning how hard our grandmother worked to have her case reopened, and basically she was the only one following up. I don't believe she would have sent Deanna to live with relatives.
Hmm. It's gotta be tough getting different stories and not knowing what parts are true and what's not.
Right. Yeah.
And just touching on the collect call again, it's been a long time since I made a collect call or received one, but I remember, you would hear the person's voice that was making the collect call. Did Becky hear the voice of the person saying she was Deanna, and does she have any opinion on if it sounded like it was really her?
She's never said whether she thought it sounded like her or not, at least not to me.
Now, besides that call, were there any other calls that could have been Deanna or any possible sightings of her after that?
So, at one point, the detective that was investigating in 2007 spoke to one of Deanna's friends. And this friend said that Deanna had shown up at her door in, Virginia in the early 2000s. And Deanna had a tattoo on her neck that said Merryfield and a tattoo on her back that said Texas born. But Deanna told her she did not want anyone to find her. She wanted her family to just leave her alone. After that friend told the detective this information, that friend would not talk to me again until recently. I was able to speak with her, and the story was completely different. She said that, she had never seen Deanna in Virginia. She had never lived there, and that she had only seen Deanna one time in a tattoo shop in Killeen. So I don't consider that valid information.
Yeah, that's got to be frustrating to get big nuggets of information only for the person to sort of backtrack and say that's not true, and then you don't really know what to believe.
Right.
And this other mention of seeing her in a tattoo parlor, I'm assuming this was as she was older, as an adult. Is there any merit to that possibly?
I don't believe so because of, who the information is coming from and how often they have changed the story. I don't feel like it's valid information, and I'm not sure what the motive is behind that, whether it's just to try and give us comfort or to try and distract from actual events, but I don't feel like it's valid information.
Whether you're into just mascara and gloss or love playing with bold colors, we all have that one makeup essential. Mine? Thrive Causemetics Liquid Lash Extensions Mascara. It gives the look of lash extensions without the glue or damage. The flake-free tubing formula defines from root to tip, no clumps or flakes, and comes off with warm water. It's vegan, cruelty-free, and gives back with every purchase. Beauty that works and makes a difference. Try your new trusty favorites with an exclusive set for our listeners. New customers can get the Liquid Lash Extensions Mascara and the mini-sized Brilliant Eye Brightener at a special set price with free shipping available at thrivecosmetics.com/beauty. Or save more with 20% off your first order at thrivecosmetics.com/beauty. That's Thrive Cosmetics, CAUSEMETICS.com/beauty for 20% off your first order.
Bubba Wallace here from 2311 Racing. Funny thing about being fast, you end up waiting a lot. First to show up, first in line, then just waiting. Me, I rev up Chumba Casino. With over 200 social casino games, no slow lanes here. Why sit around when you can spin? I'm already racing. Your turn. Play for free at ChumbaCasino.com. Let's Chumba.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
It's Wednesday night after a long day, and the last thing you want to do is cook dinner from scratch. But you still want a satisfying, tasty meal without the guilt? Enter your freezer's sidekick, Cauliflower. From thin and crispy cauliflower crust pizzas to all-natural white meat chicken tenders and crowd-pleasing snacks, Cauliflower satisfies every craving. Cauliflower's products are your favorite comfort foods, but made better for you and gluten-free always. The best part? You don't have to sacrifice taste or time, so you can honor your cravings without compromising. Craving pizza? You can enjoy Cauliflower's delicious margarita pizza for only 370 calories for half the pizza. Looking for easy snacks that kids and adults alike will love? Cauliflower's baked, never fried pizza snacks are nostalgia reimagined and ready in 5 minutes. Cauliflower's products are available in freezer aisles nationwide. Visit eatcaulipower.com/where-to-buy to find a store near you.
Now, we talked about how the police treated her case as a runaway at first, and that eliminates early searching and things like that. Were there ever any kind of organized searches done, with dogs, with people, anything in any areas for your sister?
No, there has never been an organized search.
Hmm. And that's got to be frustrating too, to know that, there wasn't really even a search put together to look for her. And you think you at least have some general ideas of maybe where to look, in
Right.
your grandmother's house, your uncle's trailer where your sister had seen her. At least a starting point, even if you don't find anything, it would be worth looking there. But and so all this time's gone by. The case was sort of shut down by a phone call. Then it was reopened. Then it sounded like it shut down again until you got it reopened. All this time is passing. Years are going by. What got done properly, in your opinion, and what got done improperly or didn't get done at all?
Well, I could there's a laundry list of things, obviously I don't hindsight is 2020, and I feel like any missing person case, whether they're considered a runaway or not, they need to be found, and they need to be found as quickly as possible. So that's, number 1. From there, um, there were people they should have been talking to. When you have a 13-year-old child who has been through what Deanna went through, and no one talks to the police don't talk to anyone involved in her life, that's really concerning. Um, and move, even once the investigation in 2007 was ramping up, still people that should have been talked to weren't talked to. And I think that, that was something that was kind of mishandled. Also, the investigation seems to stop and start and stop and start. We had it seemed like good momentum in 2007 until about 2011. And then things basically just stopped. And they weren't touching her case. It's a cold case. Killeen Police Department doesn't have a cold case unit. So after 2011, I never even really heard from the police. Like, they wouldn't respond to emails, things like that, until recently. And basically, the situation is, if there's a detective who has a little extra time or wants to work on a case in their off time, then they can do that. But that means we're basically waiting for somebody to be bored or feel charitable to look at Deanna's case. And then once they get busy again with their caseload, it stops again.
It's got to be awfully frustrating for family member to hear that and know that that's what's happening.
Right. It's extremely frustrating because I think, each time we gain momentum and then things suddenly stop, it takes even longer to get that momentum going again. So if they could just keep that momentum, I feel like her case is very, very solvable.
Now, was there ever any instance of any private detectives or anything that your family brought in to try and figure out what happened?
So, our oldest sister said that in 1995, she had a friend that, could, like, was a private detective or could at least run social security numbers and things like that. And so she had them do that. And nothing came back. And then I've been working with a private detective agency, but they're taking Deanna's case pro bono. So it's another situation where, if their caseload is heavy, they can't really spend a lot of time on Deanna.
Yeah, and that's understandable because they're
Mhm.
trying to do other cases that
Right.
will
Yeah.
help, but then also do this pro bono for you to try and get answers. Have you sort of played amateur detective yourself and dug into things or talked to people that might have known your sister?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've talked to her friends and, this is how I've been able to find out a lot of what I have found out as far as, tattoos and her personality and who she was hanging out with at the time and things like that. So, yeah, I've definitely, been trying to get as much information as possible.
Have there been any other, you know, good tips or tips you think may be worthwhile as opposed to the ones that where people change their story and you don't think they're valid?
I don't think so. I think everybody's, as far as what happened to Deanna, um, I think there's only a few people that know what really happened to her, and those people aren't the ones talking.
Hmm. Are there still people you need to reach that maybe they'll hear this podcast and say, hey, maybe I can help? Are there friends of hers that you're trying to locate or people from back in the day that knew her that you think might have some information?
Yeah, there are definitely people who I would love to just have an open conversation with about, things that were going on at that time and things that happened that night. And I think they know who they are because I've been begging them for years to talk to me. So yeah. Yeah, again, it's just the few that just won't talk.
Well, hopefully if someone out there is listening, they knew your sister, they'll come forward and reach out to you. And so eventually a NamUs profile was created. There's
Mhm.
DNA on hand. Is that correct? That if there's ever any remains found that could be Deanna's, they can compare them. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's right. Mhm.
Okay. And I mean, how tough is it to know that that could be the outcome here, that they're going to find some remains one day that may be your sister's?
Um, it's hard to know that she probably didn't survive that night, but I think at this point, once you've lived this long not knowing anything, even just having her identified would be amazing, as sad
Yeah.
as that sounds.
Yeah. Yeah, because a lot of people tell me the not knowing is the worst part of it all, and at least if you have some kind of answer, you'll have some kind of peace.
Right.
And who knows, maybe if they found her remains, it could lead to who was responsible. Maybe there's some clue there left. Um, do you
Mhm.
hold out hope at all that maybe she did run away and that she is out there someplace?
I did for a very long time. I think knowing what I know now as an adult and the reality of it, I don't feel like there's much hope for that. I think, hope is what you make it. And, at one time, I really did hope that we could find her alive and, just, reconnect or at least know that she was safe. And now my hope is just finding out what happened.
I'm curious where the rest of your family stands on this, your other sisters. Are you
Mhm.
close? Do you talk about this still? Or are there some of you that maybe just want to put it behind them? I mean, what is the status between all of you?
So I wouldn't really call us close. And I think part of it is because, everybody grieves differently and everybody deals with trauma differently. And where most of them just want to put it behind them and move forward with their lives. I have a hard time knowing that if I were to go missing tomorrow, I probably wouldn't be looked for by them. So I just can't wrap my brain around not looking for a loved one, however long it takes. So I think that kind of causes some division in the family.
Yeah, and when you have that many people in a family with different opinions and different outlooks and, different approaches, I can understand that. And that's gotta
Mhm.
be frustrating too, because you would maybe think as a sisterly bond, everybody's just gonna be on board and like, "Rah, rah, let's go figure out what happened here," and it doesn't sound like that's the case.
Right, right. And yeah, it doesn't even have to be rah rah. It could just be like, this is what I know."
Yeah. So, and I don't wanna, you know, jump to any conclusions, but it
Mhm.
sounds like maybe you're thinking that maybe one of your sisters know more. Am I correct in that?
I you know, it's hard not to think that. If you if you won't say anything at all, I can't I can't of course you know more than you're saying because you're not saying anything, you know?
Hmm. Have you asked why they're not talking? Have they given you a reason?
Yes, yes. It's too hard to talk about is the reason. I definitely I understand that to an extent, but on the other hand, it's always going to be hard if you don't talk about it.
Sure. Yeah, I'm just curious, as much as the police have been involved in this case, is there anyone they talked to or wanted to talk to that did not cooperate with their investigation?
Yeah, I think there was mention of with the two guys in the vehicle, that story, there was mention of the guys potentially being named Rudy and Tony Longoria. And so I think there's still, I don't know, they haven't been able to find those guys. So I don't, if they exist, hopefully they would come forward and talk. And then, obviously, family members, they're surprised that the police haven't talked to them. But if they could reach out to the police would talk to them.
And that might at least provide some information, or maybe they could rule them out as being involved, and that would help
Right.
a little bit in some manner. Yeah. It sounds like there's really a lot of pieces here that you still just don't have any idea about all these years later.
Yes, there are a lot of pieces. And yeah, I would love to be able to put it all together.
Well, you've definitely been an advocate for Deanna's case. You're on social media. I know you're doing podcasts. You're really keeping the case out there and front facing. How are you able to stay motivated to do that and keep going, especially when, other people close to you are not? How do you keep going on your own?
Um, I I do what I need to do. Um, my husband is extremely supportive, and that really helps. And there are times when I scream and I cry and I yell, or I just lay in bed, or I eat my feelings, or I just do whatever I need to do. I take breaks when I need breaks, but I don't let myself be down for too long because I don't want to lose that momentum. So, yeah, you just keep pushing. It's a brick wall and eventually it's going to give.
Yeah. And so what kind of websites do you have, or social media platforms do you want to share with listeners, maybe where people can learn more about the case or reach out to you if
Mhm.
they have some information?
Yeah. So we do have a website, which is findingdeanna.com. And that has all of, her information on there. And then I'm also on Facebook and Instagram at Finding Deanna.
Well, we'll definitely put all of that in our social media and put it in our show notes. And hopefully anyone out there listening that does have information or wants to learn more about the case, they can reach out to you and provide some information that might help. I want to thank you for coming on to discuss Deanna's case with us. And I hope you're able to keep digging, keep going, and find out what happened one day.
Thank you so much, Mike. It really helps having people who help get the word out. Every missing person, really.
Yeah, it takes a team. It's hard to do for one person, and we're here to help. So, thank you for sharing her story with us.
Yes, thank you.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Missing Persons. If you can provide any information to help solve the case we discussed in this episode, please contact the appropriate authorities.
If you enjoy this podcast, please take a moment to tell your friends about Missing Persons and invite them to listen to the show. Word of mouth will help us grow and bring these cases to a larger audience. You can also help us by taking a moment to rate and review Missing Persons on the platform you're listening to us now on. If you want to get early and ad-free access to new episodes of Missing Persons and help support the show in the process, please consider a subscription to our Apple Podcast. For only $4.99 a month or $49.99 a year, you'll get early ad-free access to not only this show, but to every other show on the AbJack network of podcasts. You can get started with a free trial by searching for AbJack Entertainment in your Apple app, and we'll include a link in the show notes. If you want to find us on social media, we're on every major platform and on YouTube. Just search for Missing Persons Podcast. We'll include links to all of our social media in our show notes, and you can also visit our website, missingpersonspodcast.com. Finally, if you're in need of a platform to discuss a missing persons case that you're connected to, feel free to reach out to us on our website. We're happy to help. Just a reminder that new episodes of Missing Persons air every other Saturday. On behalf of Jess Betancourt, this is Mike Morford saying thanks, and we'll see you next time on Missing Persons.